What's up, dudes? I'm Running Kid here, coming to you again. How's everybody doing? As you probably saw, no announcer guy this week. I gave him the day off. He deserves it. Uh, he deserves it. Most importantly. But as you saw in the beginning of the vid, once again, we lost another legend in the comic book industry last week. A legend by the name of Joe Kubert. Very, if you've seen his work on Tarzan and Sergeant Rock, things like that, this guy was a legendary artist that has his own school in Jersey, in New Jersey. His sons carry on his legacy, Andy and Adam. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Um, but my heart, well, and feelings go out to the Kubert family. Like I said before, Andy looks more like his dad than Adam. Not saying Adam doesn't, but Andy does. He looks a lot more. So my prayers and hearts go out to the Kubert family. Um, what's that old saying, guys? Heroes get remembered, but legends, they never die. And Mr. Kubert will always be one of those legends that will never die. Okay? So, this is an extra size episode review, guys, because what happened? Last week I didn't do reviews. Like I said, I was going to be a little late. I was going to be late. Apologies. No problem. Got life outside of the web, but no problem. But anyway, first I'm going to review the comics that I picked up for last week, and then I'll get into this week's comics as well. So we all know the lineup. It starts with Independent, DC, and ended with Marvel. For this, basically. But unfortunately, for last week there was no Independent I picked up, so we'll just kick it off with DC, and let's start it off with none other than Babs, Batgirl, number 12. Gail Simone, boom, my lady. Versus Batwoman. She's fighting Batwoman, and well, they don't really fight in this too much, but as you saw, you probably seen my mentor Blue Goblin's video, Sensei. He talked about this, how he felt the fight between Batgirl and Batwoman with a little bit like, wow, Batwoman kind of dominating this fight. I was a little bit on that cuff as well, but I was more interested in the concept of Nightfall, as well as her her team, her little team, of why they're doing the things they do. And we got kind of a little backstory in between that. But I really enjoyed that. I also love the fact that who is also connected to Nightfall. Don't want to spoil that. And if I go too fast on some of the stuff, it doesn't mean I didn't like it. It's just that, these are, just trying to segue the review a little bit short for last week's books. But other than that, this was really good. Batgirl has still been very good, and we know next month we're getting all the zero issues, so we're gonna get some origins and everything like that. That's cool. But other than that, this was really good, and I can't wait to see, especially the cliffhanger at the end. What something happens to Babs, with Nightfall. But other than that, still good. Gail Simone is still doing a bang up job. Next up that I got for last week, Batman number 12. Scott Snyder, of course, and Becky Cloonan is the artist, I believe, on this book. I have to admit, that is a badass cover. That is a cool cover. The concept of this is simple. Batman saves innocents. The innocents now feels that they owe him and they want to help him out. That's basically what this issue is all about. And we get to see the innocent bystander that admires the Dark Knight and wants to help. But it was just a very touching story in my opinion. I enjoyed it for what it was. Not a lot of action, but it was there. But it was more centered around this individual who took it upon herself to want to help the Dark Knight. But it was good nonetheless. I did enjoy it. Okay, next up, Grifter, number 12. Now, some of you guys out there are probably saying, kid, I like you, Chris, I like you and all, but how can you stay on board something Rob Liefeld is doing? Once again, I said this before about a lot of, I don't support Rob Liefeld. I support Grifter. Cole Cash has always been one of my favorite members of the Wildcats. Now, he's not a part of the Wildcats more, but still, I support Grifter, not Liefeld. But anyway, that cover is badass too, but that's nothing like that happens in the issue. The concept of this basically is we found out that Cheshire is basically with Hellspawn and all of them. She's a traitor. She feels that why should we go against the inevitable, basically. That's her. That's why she joined. Deathblow and Grifter Cole have been captured. They've been taken to Hellspawn, and pretty much Grifter just lays it on the line with Hellspawn, basically saying, you know the real definition of a grifter? Basically, I'm a con man, and I conned you into bringing me here and everything like that. And basically, it's a battle between Hellspawn and Cole. He uses his telekinetic powers in this, and it was pretty badass, I'm not going to lie. But also getting away from Hellspawn, but still, like what happened in Superman when Hellspawn gets the near, he basically told him why he's there and that he is against the Damonites. He's not with them. And we kind of get that in this as well. But it was kind of cool to see Cole actually outsmart or out-con, Hellspawn. Because at first Hellspawn was like, this is supposed to be the chosen one and everything like that. And he was not impressed, but I think he was after he tussled with Cole. Okay. Moving on. Ravagers, number 4. Rage of the Beast Boy. That is a badass. That cover's badass too. Look at Beast Boy. He just looks aggressive and things like that. So, Howard Mankey is still continuing his story with the new 52 version of Brother Blood. Once again, and the team has been captured by Brother Blood, and he's about to perform some kind of blood ritual on them, and it's up to Beast Boy and Terra to help them. And that's pretty much what happens. We see a pretty decent battle between Beast Boy and Brother Blood, basically. Beast Boy goes on to talk about when he changes into his animal forms, how at first it used to be like, almost like it hurt, things like that. All he saw was blood red. He was always, but now he's kind of liking it and things like that. One of the members gets taken out of commission in this. And even though this book is a week old, I'm still not gonna spoil it. One of the members does sacrifice him or herself, to keep the team safe. But I'm not gonna spoil it. But yeah, Ravagers has still been good in my opinion. Still keeping up, and Howard Mankey and the rest keep up the good work. Okay, so that was all the DC I got for last week. So we move on to pretty much the last of it, and that's all Marvel. Alright. So first off, let's start off with Captain America number 16. Ed Brubaker and Cullen Bunn actually basically is the artist on this. They do, I mean, the co-writer. They both co-write together. As Scott Eaton is the artist in this. I do like Scott Eaton's artwork. It's really good. So basically, once again, you know, all hell is breaking out on America between the Discordians, these individuals, and that have been pretty much sent out by the new Hydra and everything like that. And it's pretty much Cap just trying to do what he can. But in the meantime, there's this false, like, I guess you could say false politician that's spreading the word all around America saying that Captain America and all the other so-called heroes aren't doing a damn thing and everything like that. And it's kind of actually getting to the people in a way. They're like looking at it like, hey, maybe this guy's right. I mean, he's not helping. Where's the Avengers when we need them and everything like that? They're off out in space help saving people, alien races, when they should be here on Earth. It got to that point. Um, but it was no problem. I did like the co-writing between Brubaker and Bunn. Not bad. And like I said, Scott Eaton's artwork, very good. All right. um, Next up, you probably saw my mentor review this. Fantastic Four number 609. Um, Jonathan Hickman, Stegman is the artwork artist. Um, Look, I'm not gonna razz on Hickman too much because he's trying to do what he can. But look, I was really bored with this issue very much. I almost like I literally almost speed read through this issue because I was like, okay, get it over with. Oh man, like where is this supposed to be going? Um, yeah, no disrespect, Mr. Hickman, but yeah, this just didn't really feel too. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Now, usually this would be the part where I'll actually come in with the new to the poll list, but once again, what the hell? Hit it! Yeah, love that music. Um, Gambit #1. Yeah, I've always said this, and I'll say it again. If there's any other X-Men that can deserves an ongoing series and probably can hold it off, is Gambit. Now I've collected pretty much every ongoing series Marvel has tried to put out for Gambit, and the thing is they always get up to only 12 issues. Now, um, Adamus and Man, I love Man's artwork works very well for Gambit in this. Um, Adamus actually pretty much takes Gambit back to his roots. And what is his roots, people? Thief. Thievery. Being a thief. And this is where this could work for him. Not just being an action adventure, but also showing what the Raging Cajun was before he joined the X-Men and before he became a teacher and everything like that. He was a thief. And that's what this really much shows. And it was fun. It was a fun read to me. I really enjoyed it for what it was. Um, and it leaves you on this issue leaves us on a cliffhanger of what Gambit stole and how dangerous, well, I shouldn't say how dangerous, but what he stole and what it can do. And I'm throwing the words out here because I don't want to spoil it, like I said, guys. But other than that, I really enjoyed it very much, very much. All right. Um, Next up, New Avengers number 29. Bendis, Deodato, as always. Deodato's artwork is great. As you can see, it's the Illuminati on the cover. Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Reed Richards, Professor Xavier, Captain America. So basically, Cap calls in the Illuminati to talk about the situation that's going on. And we kind of get some things out of the woodworks. We get to see a backstory between Cap when he, of course, he's thinking about. I don't know when this story is supposed to take place. I guess it's supposed to take place before Namor got his powers taken away, because Namor is in this, but it's really at the end of the book, because Cap is going on talking about, Namor should show up and everything like that. We get a little backstory, especially from World War II when Cap was with the invaders. They were fighting the Red Skull, and Namor saved Cap, and you know, Cap was like, "Thanks for the save, Namor," and he's like, "Sure, we're brothers." So it kind of gives this sense of, Cap knows, he wants to believe in, things like that about Namor. Why is he doing this? Everything like that. And the other is like, "Look, Captain, he's not gonna show up. He's not gonna show." But eventually, after everybody leaves and all things have been come out, Namor actually shows up at the end of the book, and there's this pretty decent talk. I'm spoiling that too much, but yeah, it was interesting to see, and it it just ended kind of a little bit sad, but it's the concept of where this story takes place is kind of weird in a way. But yeah, there were a lot of banter between uh, Iron Man, Reed Richards, and Professor Xavier. Professor Xavier starts to do some things in this that, Professor doesn't do a lot. Like, for example, read minds without permission. He just does it. And he read everybody's mind, and pretty much he literally came on and said, "Look, you all are blaming me for what's going on." And he was like, "Look," almost to a point, he literally almost said, "Screw you all." Um, but yeah, it was very interesting. I did like the part where Tony was like, "Look, you guys say Doctor Strange and Doctor Richards, and he's like, I got 3 documents myself, so how come guys don't call me what Doctor Stark?" And it was really funny. That part was funny, but yeah, it was a story of brotherhood. Like, how far has Namor gone, and does he really find Tony as still being that brother that in arms back in the days? And we kind of get our answer in this. All right, next up, Scarlet Spider, number 8. Good issue right here. Funny as hell. Yosh is still doing a great job. It was good to see the Rangers. If you know anything about the Rangers, remember the 50 State Initiative. They were the Texas team. So we got Texas Tornado, Flamebird, people like that fighting Kane, which was really funny. It was just really funny to see Kane tangle with the Rangers. Um, I love some of the scenes. He was just like telling this girl like that he saved. He's like, "Would you shut up?" and things like. It's basically proving that, look, Kane he's not really trying to be a hero, but it's kind of it's in the blood. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no matter what, he's gonna do it. But it was just really fun to see him fight the Rangers, and also see like what he thinks of each member. That was really funny. Very funny indeed. But still, this has been really good. Like the title says, all the power, none of the responsibility. Yeah, he lives up to that very much. Okay, next up, Spider-Man, number 4 of 5, Bendis and Pichelli. Um, this has been so good, guys, and I'm glad I picked up this miniseries. So Peter has come in contact with the Ultimate, Gwen, and Aunt May, and like my mentor said, at first it was not like, "Oh, Peter, hug." Aunt May comes and slaps Peter in the face, and then they almost like stomp him to death. Well, Gwen does, like she's kicking him and stuff, because they think it was disrespectful. But later on, they get all into it, and Peter's telling Gwen's asking all these questions. So, is there a me? Is there an MJ like? And he's like, yeah, she's a supermodel. And Gwen's like, really? Like, she's a supermodel? What am I? And things like that. And Peter doesn't tell her that. There was just some real good key banter and stuff between them. And Miles just being Miles is really fun. Gwen did call MJ, and she did come when after Peter left, and she saw him, but she ran away when Peter was about to, talk to her. I love the scene where Miles actually says to Peter, he's like, "So, is there a Nick Fury in your world?" He's like, "Oh yeah." And then Nick Fury ultimately is like, "What's he like?" Well, he's white, and he's like, "I'm sorry for you. I feel sorry for you." I thought that, I know it's not, it shouldn't have been funny, but I thought it was funny. I thought that was funny. He's like, "Well, he's white," and even the banter between Ultimate Tony and Peter was funny, where he's like, "Wow, you're not even sober in this." Like he's like, "Me sober." That was funny. But yeah, one more issue and that's it. But other than that, this has been really fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It I thought it, like my mentor said, I thought it was pretty much just gonna be them buying off of the movie, but just getting what they can. But other than that, it was fun. It was very fun.
Very much indeed. I really enjoyed that. Enjoyed this very much. But don't let that cover fool you. That doesn't happen. Covers sometimes can be so much false advertising. This is false advertising. That doesn't happen at all. Next up, Rick Morender's last issue of Venom number 22. Um, this was a little bittersweet in my opinion because I was a I was disappointed in the fight between Jack-O-Lantern and Venom. I thought it could have been way more epic for their final confrontation. When you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be they're gonna go all out. Not really. But Mr. Remender, I'm gonna miss you on this book. I'll keep reading. I'll still see what Bunn comes up because I read other stuff that he's doing, and so far he's been doing a pretty good job, decent job. I'll see where he takes Flash in this, but I'm looking forward to everything that's coming out for you soon. I'll be staying with you, Mr. Remender. I'm looking forward to reading your Uncanny Avengers because you're gonna have. That's just good. I'll talk about that later sometime. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of what you do. But that was the only nitpick I had with this. Like the battle between Jack-O-Lantern and Flash could have been better. It was almost like that's it. No, no freak out. No, Venom gets comes out and I'll feast on your brains, your stew. Things like that. I'm just messing. But yeah, I mean, just spoiler alert. Venom just shoots him, and that was it. Like, huh? What a disappointment. All right, next up, um, Wolverine number 311. Yeah, Jeff Loeb and Simon Bicelli. Loeb, get this. Okay. Um, so we're still continuing. How did Sabretooth survive and everything like that? Well, it's pretty much how we all pretty much thought it was. That what we saw Wolverine cut off Sabretooth head, that was not the real Sabretooth. Pretty much basic bottom line. It was a clone. Um Now let that cover right there sums up what happens in this. It's Wolverine versus a lot of Sabretooth clones, as well as the real Sabretooth from what I believe it is. But also we also find out who the redhead is in this book. And we find out that this redhead, and this is a spoiler, is the sister of Romulus. And she wants Wolverine to kill her brother. Yeah. But other than that, it was. I'm looking at that like, when I saw that, guys, and heard, I'm just like, really? I mean, come on. That was a little bit, eh, you know. You're trying to say that that wasn't Sabretooth. If that was the case, then why'd you wait so long to, that's all I'm saying. And the last book for last week, X-Men Legacy. Christoph Gage, this is issue number 271. It's Rogue in an alien dimension battling to survive. The people there think she's some kind of messiah, things like that. She still has a little bit of remnants of Ms. Marvel, Carol Danvers' powers, but they're fading and things like that. So she has to survive, pretty much. But yeah, it was Christoph Gage does a good job, and I know that this series is kind of coming to end. It's going to be retooled, renumbered back to number 1, and I know Christoph Gage may be leaving, but X-Men Legacy is still going to be going, and it looks like it's going to be focused more on Legion. I don't know if I'll continue reading it, but because Rogue is going to be on Uncanny Avengers, and Rogue is one of my favorite, well, she's my number 1 favorite female comic character, and I'll follow her wherever she goes, pretty much. The Southern Belle, yeah, but it was still good. Don't get me wrong. So that's all the books for last week that I picked up. So we are on to the books this week, and now the lineup will really be a little bit more, like I said, independent, DC, and ended with Marvel. Okay, so we'll start it off with Valiant Comics, Bloodshot number 2. All right, so Dwayne Swierczynski still gives us a little bit of mind, like almost a mind fuck, like, part of my language. It's almost like, okay, is Bloodshot working with the government, or is he a creation turning against the government? Things like that. And that's what we get in this. Bloodshot was actually just a product of the government, and he thinks he was a real person, and he had kids and everything like that. So it's playing with his head and things like that, and he's just trying to survive, pretty much, from the people that kind of created him. That's pretty much it. But it was just really kind of twisted. You got. I read this. I read it like twice to really kind of get the gist of it again. But as a character who has got advanced nanotechnology, he can practically heal from any wound, virtually any wound. But like I said, just a little of a mind boggle. But I still like it. Okay, next up, a book that, of course, Dynamite, and of course, we're talking about Voltron number 7. Um, Voltron hasn't been on my reviews in a while. They don't come out like every week or so, so they're kind of weak. Now, issue number 6 left on a bang. We find out from Lord Zarkon that there were other. Brandon Thomas throws us a curveball and basically gives us like a, oh, what the fuck? Like, almost like, what? And I'm talking about how he basically stated from Zarkon is that there were other Voltron units before this Voltron, the one that we previously know. There were like 5 other creations. And also, Zarkon gets killed. King Zarkon gets killed in issue number 6 by former member of the Voltron Force, Sven. He kills him, shoots him dead. Bam! It was, oh man. But in this issue, we get to see what Lotor, Zarkon's son, he's like saying, oh, I was always against my dad and everything like that. Give me a chance, yada. And Keith is like, man, fuck you. I ain't believing this shit. I'm not believing a word he says. But it's more about the other Voltron unit that they fight in this. He looks pretty bad. He almost looks like a samurai. And they fight on top of a moon, and that's almost about to be detonated. But yeah, this was really good. It left on a bang, and I mean a bang.
But yeah, Brandon Thomas still been doing good on this. Voltron number 7. All independent. Move on to DC. And the first one is none other than Batwoman number 12. J.H. Williams III. W. Hallen Blackwell. Basically, I think Mr. Williams actually takes up the artwork again. Finally, yes. But it looks like it's a segue into what is about to happen. Is there's going to be a team up between Batwoman and Wonder Woman. Batwoman knows that she needs a little help, and because the character she's about to go up is Medusa. So who better to go with when it comes to these people, like characters from Greek mythology and anything like that? Kind of it kind of is like a stereotype, but yeah, Wonder Woman. Pretty much. And it goes from like what's going on with Batwoman, and it kind of goes on what's going on with Wonder Woman. But they do it in a more fashion that is not like Batwoman's story, this story, yada 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 blah blah. No, it kind of does it a little differently. But yeah, it was good to see the old artwork return in a sense. Very good. All right, next up, Birds of Prey number 12. And may I say, Mr. Straczynski or whoever did the artwork, the cover, if Poison Ivy here does not look like freaking Madonna, I don't know what. I mean, get a look at that. Who does she look like? Tell me she does. Tell me she does not look like Madonna. But other than that, the team is still basically puppets to Poison Ivy. And it's coming to the point where Canary is like, look, I can't take this no more. I want out. And things like that. And we kind of get a, in a way, you could say Poison Ivy's blackmailing them. Do what I say or we're all going to die and everything like that. Black Canary still is like, screw this. Batgirl is like, look, I can get to Batman and he'll help us cure ourselves. Because remember, they're poison as well. But what I won't spoil, do they continue to go with what Poison Ivy is telling them to do? I will not spoil that. Just got to pick it up for yourself. But it was still good nonetheless. All right. Next up, Blue Beetle, number 12. Blood Beetle is back, and he's going to bleed the world dry. Tony Bedard brings us once again. Jaime is still in New York. He's now at his grandmother's home in the Bronx. And it's really funny hearing the Scarab talk about Jaime's grandmother. Seeing all these pictures around her apartment and everything like that. There was a picture of Jesus Christ himself. And the Scarab is basically saying, like, who is the bearded man? And Jaime's got to tell the Scarab. The Scarab armor is looking at how much cigarettes that Jaime's grandmother goes through. And she's like, it was funny because the Scarab was like, look, is your grandmother trying to kill herself? All the, nicotine, everything like that. It was really funny. But as you see, Blood Beetle, that is Jaime's best friend Paco in there. Like I said, the to, the Scarab stabbed Paco in a couple of issues back to keep the identity secret. Jaime kind of overwrit the rule to not save, and the Scarab actually puts a parasite in him, and that's the product of what that parasite was. However, in a fight between Paco and Jaime is actually able to save Paco's life and turn him back to normal. How he does it, I won't explain, but it does have a lot to do with the Scarab, and it seems the Scarab is kind of changing a little bit of his ways in this, pretty much. But it was still good. Okay. So once again, well, it's not really new to my pull list, guys, because actually, I I think I'm only going to collect a few issues because of a couple of things. So first off, let's kick it off with DC Presents number 12, Kid Flash. Now, why did I pick this up? It's a story about Kid Flash, a solo issue. Fabian Nicieza does the writing on this, and he just tells a very fun story with Kid Flash. Very funny, very good, witty banter back with Bart Allen. So bottom line is, in the story between, this kind of comes out of the pages of Teen Titans that was going on. Teen Titans was on an island that was pretty much had a lot of prehistoric creatures on there, and they were able to get back to their world thanks to a little bit of help. However, three individuals hitched a ride with them, and this is kind of where that story kind of picks up. But this was just really fun. Fabian Nicieza does a very good job writing it. And I can't wait to issue 13 because that is when my boy, one of my top 10 favorite DC heroes, Black Lightning, makes his 52 debut. But not just him, Blue Devil. So I'll be collecting a couple more issues of DC Presents because Black Lightning. But this one was good too. Very funny. I was laughing. I found myself laughing a lot, like smirking or laughing. It was good. All right. Okay, guys. Next up, moving on. Keep going on with DC. Green Lantern number 12. Jeff Johns. Um, the blackness reaches Earth. All right. We got a lot of interesting developments in this issue, actually. That in my opinion, um, Black Hand. Sorry, guys. Black Hand actually is in the book. He's in the book, but he sees some developments as well, especially the book of the. All right. Hal and Sinestro are dealing with zombies and pretty much, Rise. Uh, it's more of the developments that I really wanted to talk about. That really kind of, once again, a couple of developments. Those blue-faced bastards, the Guardians, still up to something. Still doing whatever they need to do to get ready for this rise of this third army that's coming. We see the Guardians actually talking about what they plan, the plans are, what they're supposed to do in terms of Sinestro, the Guy Gardner, John Stewart, Kyle Rayner, the other cores, just a lot of things. It's just like, I just want to choke these guys out. But it was really, really the most developing thing is actually what Black Hand actually finds out when he reads the book. It says something about Hal Jordan, and I don't want to spoil that at all, but it we'll get some more when the Green Lantern Annual comes out. But the bottom line is something that has to do with, all I can say is this. It said Hal Jordan will be the greatest, and I won't spoil what else it says, but it shocked Black Hand enough to look at it like, what? But yeah, still Jeff Johns still kind of is fairly good. Mm-hmm. And if those blue-faced bastards weren't shown enough in that book, Green Lantern Corps number 12, Peter Tomasi, they show them off in this. This is the conclusion to the Alpha Wars. And, yeah, we get to see some more development stuff in this, what I'm going. It kind of gives a sense, yeah, don't let that cover kind of sums it up. The Alpha Lanterns, well, I will spoil this, are defeated. And but not just defeated, taken out of commission, because even the Guardians themselves was like, look, it's a good thing the Alpha Lanterns were taken out, because they would have became a problem for us. Even, it was just like, oh my god, like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? Like, seriously. Um, the, the Guardians are just becoming total dicks now. And it just makes me wonder, like, what the hell are you guys gonna do? Mm-mm-mm. Um, but does John Stewart get killed? Spoiler alert, no, thank God. Is he still alive? Yes. Is a lot of the other Lantern Corps alive members? Yes. Kilowog? Yes. Guy Gardner? Yes. But the Alpha Lanterns, not so much. Green Lantern Corps number 12. You still did a good job, Mr. Tomasi. Not gonna lie. Alright. Next up, Nightwing number 12. At the Mercy of a Madman. Kyle Higgins ends this with Paragon here. Kind of on a, like, okay, Paragon was just an ordinary guy that crossed paths with Nightwing from way back in the first issue. There's some good developments in this. For example, between the daughter, Tony Zuko's daughter, and Dick, the guy who killed, Dick's parents, and his daughter. There's also some developments with the Penguin in this, that someone is an assassin is coming to Gotham in issue number 13. Yes, indeed. That I'm looking forward to. The 52 debut of Lady Shiva. I cannot wait to see that. But yeah, this was okay. I mean, I was disappointed with Paragon. I'm thinking this guy was some little bit more, but I was like, oh, is that it? Like, he's, like, okay, whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't wait to see Dick cross paths with Shiva. And they're still keeping her, like, even Penguin even said it. He told it to Mr. Combustion, I think that was his name. Like, he's like, look, they sent an assassin. And they're like, and Miss Gwen's like, so those boys in Philly died by an assassin. So what? Hitman. And Penguin's like, no, this is not any assassin. This is Lady Shiva. And I was like, her reputation still is intact. Still procedure. Good stuff. Okay. Next up, Supergirl number 12. Apologize for not reviewing number 11. Well, 11 was interesting, very much. Michael Green and Mike Johnson basically, in this issue, Kara still needs some answers. She still feels like her life is a puzzle. She's still trying to put pieces of her life together. Things like that. So the first thing she goes to is to her cousin, who she wasn't on good terms with at first. I mean, they fought in the second issue, I believe. What I don't like how they drew Superman in this, because he looks so young. Like, I'm talking like almost like he was damn near a teenager, like his cousin or so. Um, we get to see that Kandor is still around, and they were in the Fortress of Solitude and everything like that. And Kara still is kind of on the cuff about if she could really trust Superman. Does she really still believe that this is her cousin who she was older than? Now he's grown up and everything like that. She still is kind of on the cuff that Clark is trying to just keep her where he can see her, but Clark is just basically telling her, like, look, I've been watching you and all the fights that you've been getting into, you've been causing them. You have not been using your powers responsibly and things like that. And Kara gets a little paranoid, like, look, you just want to keep me here and imprison me and things like that. We'll go if you want to fight again, we can do that. And it's like, you're really like, come on, y'all gotta have her like really like seriously, come on, like really, this is your cousin, Kara, like family. This is blood now. Come on. She even starts to say it when she storms out of the fortress house. She's like, look, I ought to go back. Like, but Clark does give her some stuff. He's like, look, if you're gonna do this, because they find something that's in the bottom of the ocean, and Clark was gonna go with her, but she was like, no, I'm gonna do this alone. So, and that's where the conversation came up about using her powers and everything like that. Look, I would had the privilege of being raised by two people on this planet. You don't know the planet as much as I do, so let me help you. Things like that. Um, but other than that, it was pretty interesting. The ending left you kind of like, oh boy, uh, an individual from a couple of issues in the past is back, and he does not look the same at all. But don't that cover lives up to what happens. She's pretty much that kind of happens in the book. All right. So next up, the last DC book, of course, is Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman #12, Kiss of Death. If all that you want to know who that purple black guy is, that's actually Apollo. You know, son of son of Zeus, Mount Olympus. Don't fuck with me, I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass. Yeah, that's Apollo. um, he's basically Zeus. Zeus's throne is basically open. So what Apollo, by birthright, Apollo should be the one to take his place. Nope, not Hercules, no other children of Zeus, not even Diana. But Diana is basically up there because Zeus and Apollo and Artemis took Zola, the woman that is pregnant with another one of Zeus's bastard children. Man, Zeus, like, you have got to be the biggest player or pimp ever. Anyway, she's up there just to get Zola. And Zola pretty much afterwards goes into her water breaks and she starts going into labor. Wonder Woman actually fights Artemis in this, and does she beat Artemis? Yes, Wonder Woman fights the goddess of the hunt, beats her hand to hand. I'm talking about literally, she took her bands off, and Artemis is like, you took your bands off. You took the only defense against me off to face me. And Wonder Woman's like, yeah. And she just grapples with Artemis and almost chokes her out. Um, there are a lot of things in this that was really fun. First of all, Hera gets exiled from Olympus. Um, there's some things that go on between Hermes. Hermes actually, don't want to spoil it, guys, but something happens to Zola's baby. There's just some crazy stuff that goes on here, but it was fun. It was fun. Like I said, once again, I like what Brian Azzarello has been doing with Diana. I'm sorry, but it's the real ending that I don't want to spoil. It looks like we're about to. See, I can't spoil it. All I can say is I can't even say that because if I say that, I'll give you a clue. It's a character Jack Kirby created, and his name begins with an O in this book at the end. There's your clue. Okay, so that was all the DC for this week. Move on to the the 6 Marvel books that I picked up this week, and we'll kick it off with the world's greatest superhero, Amazing Spider-Man, 691, few more away from 700. Woohoo! Celebrating his 50th anniversary, 50 years of the webhead. Let's get another 50 out of there. Dan Slott, Kemuliko actually is the artwork on there. That cover is badass though. Man, there's been a lot of badass covers. I love this cover. Um, so it's Pete fighting a lizard. A newly developed lizard. Uh, whew. Oh boy, this was fun. Um, without spoiling too much for you, Peter really has to put almost his feelings aside when he's fighting the lizard in this, in a sense. He gets a little help from his fellow Horizon members, but it was really fun and really interesting and entertaining in a sense. Without spoiling too much again, guys. Like I said, guys, I'm trying not to spoil too much. Um, does Peter save Kurt Connors from the lizard, or so to speak? Don't want to spoil that for you. But it's the ending that really gets me. That, especially with the lizard, it does come off like Lizard is a tragic villain in this again. But at one point you look at it like, oh my god, like what the hell? Like seriously, very much. But this was really good. But it's really what's to come. Um, Now we all know Ben Urich, Phil Urich's nephew, is the new Hobgoblin. He killed. I'm gonna spoil this for you. He killed what we thought was Robert Roderick Kingsley, the original Hobgoblin. Wrong. We see him at the end of the book. Who he killed was Roderick Kingsley's brother, Daniel. And Roderick ain't happy about it, and he's about to come back. That's how the book ended. Once again, it was like, oh, really, Mr. Slott? You throw me this? Yeah. Whew. Um, I'm gonna move this real fast because this issue was really interesting. Just it's kind of a tie-in, but it just didn't feel like it in a way. Avengers number 29. Bendis, Walter Simonson is the artist on this. Walt Simonson is the artwork. I believe, yeah, Simonson. Deodato does the cover. Bottom line is this story takes place in between Wolverine and X-Men 12 and before Avengers vs. X-Men number 8. And we find out how what happened when Wolverine and Rachel came together and everything like that. It was basically Professor Xavier doing all that since the get-go. And Professor Xavier realizes like he wants out. In this issue he wants out because of, he can't see himself, bringing harm to his former students. You know, they were like his children. But yeah, that's all this was. I'm sorry, I didn't want to. That's all I can say about this. That's all. Now, from there, we move on to what I wanted to talk about. Avengers vs. X-Men round 10. 2 more issues to go. Brubaker takes the helm, Ed Brubaker, and Adam Kubert is the artist. Alright. We got some developments in this book, too. First off, Emma. Is she a bitch? Yes. Is she a bitch in this? Yes. Will she always be a bitch? Hell fucking yeah. Let me put it in a way of Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim. She's a bitch. She'll always be a bitch, and she deserves to die. In this book, that's exactly what Emma in this book just clearly is juiced up on the Phoenix Force, and now she looks at herself as like a goddess, a queen. Both, I know Cyclops does it too, but it was just like, Cyclops, look, I know I don't want to see you as a dickhead right now, but that's what they're making you. And then you say, and he says a line in here that is just like, really, Scott, you really? But it's really Emma that is like, God damn, like, fuck, I just want to just smack you around, like, what the fuck? Come on. That's really what it was. There was a good fight scene between Hope and Scott in this book, because of what she was able to do in this. Don't want to spoil that once again. But let's just say she hurts Scott, and with all the Phoenix power he's zooped up on, yeah, she hurts him pretty much. There was also a good key element between Magneto, where he literally is almost crying to Charles Xavier, to Professor Xavier. He's like, Charles, old, like, read my thoughts. Basically, literally, we need you, old friend. Like, we need you. Come back. It was crazy. I was like, wow, look at that. But yeah, Emma just, I'm like, oh God, you bitch. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I want you dead now. You deserve to die. But other than that, it was fun. This was very much better than a lot of stuff that, as my mentor would say, Fail Fraction is doing. Brubaker, he's pretty much got it down pat. But yeah, that fight between Hope and Scott was pretty cool. Pretty awesome, if you ask me. Alright, next up, Earth's Mightiest Hero, Captain Marvel number 2. Kelly Sue DeConnick, who I talk to on Twitter. I tweet her a lot. I remember when she first retweeted me back with an answer. I thought that was amazing. If you want to know what I tweeted her, ask me. I'll tell you. But other than that, in this issue, Carol wants to beat a record or so, like in an old plane from the 40s or so. That this female, I'm forgetting her name, actually flown. It's not Amelia Earhart, somebody else. But it kind of gets based into time travel. And I know you're saying, oh, time travel, really? But that's pretty much what it was. It's still building up. It's not as this was not as better than the first issue, but it was still good and good to, yeah, still good as in my opinion. This is just my opinion, guys. But it was really funny. It was really good to see, and I love that line where Carol basically says, "Well, since I'm back in time, we can tweak history a little bit." Um, but yeah, and that's a cool cover. I love me some Carol. All right, next up, Daredevil number 17. Yeah, Mark Waid, Michael Allred is the artist on this. I think this is just really a backstory of the friendship between Foggy and Matt, and because of last issue, what happened is almost like Foggy can't trust Matt. And that's pretty much what this was. Like I said, we kind of get to see when Matt first saved Foggy when he was Daredevil. We got to see Stiltman in this. Oh my God, yeah, Stiltman, which was really interesting. Um, that's pretty much it. Nothing left. Not fancy. Just a pretty decent story. Very much. All right. And last but not least, another good story. One moment, people. I'm sorry. Um, I was eating an ice pop and I forgot it was melting. Forgive me, guys. Um. Anyway, moving on. Last book. Once again, I apologize for that, guys. Um, X Factor number 242. This is part 2 of Breaking Points. And that is a bad man. There have been some cool covers. That is a badass cover too. Look at that. Um, Peter David brings us back into the fold of what's going on with Ronnie, Richter, and Shatterstar looking for Ronnie's son. Darwin is in this issue, and he's trying to kill Ronnie's son. Um, is there a kind of a heartwarming, son and mom reunion? You know what? Yeah, there was. There was kind of a very good reunion between them. But there's some individuals that don't want this to happen, and it was really funny to see Darwin battling Richter. Darwin's all like first he can't believe if Richter still got his power. Did he think he's still depowered? And Richter he's like, look, drop the gun. Yeah, Richter has a gun. Darwin has a gun. He's hunting, and he's like, drop the gun, and like, make me. Okay. Richter does. He uses his powers, and he's like, I didn't get that memo. Um, and that's pretty much it. It was still a very good. Peter David still doing a great job, in my opinion. Very much. But yeah, it was really good. There was more into it. I don't want to spoil, but it's pretty much just mom and son coming together. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much. It was a touching story. But the next issue, part 3 of Breaking Point, kind of gets us a little more into it, especially with Polaris. But yeah, badass cover, good issue. If you're not on board X Factor, once again, get on board. But it was still
very good. So, that's it, guys. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this extra size review. Like I said, there's the reviews from last week's books as well as this week, the books I picked up this week. The announcer guy will probably he will be back next time. He just wanted a day off. I gave him a day off. Uh, so other than that, guys, Small Running Kid, peace, one love, stay tuned, keep it real. My fellow comic geeks and comic lovers out there, y'all take care.